We as black people need to straighten up how we look at each other.
That's right.
How
I
we
agree.
greet each other, how we honor each other. Now, to the point, you said there's a lot of shady kings and queens out here. Yes, there are. And we definitely need to figure out a way strategically. I'm all for if someone comes at you on a public platform or in public, go back. That's my problem. I'm not meaning okay. So let's say social media, right? Because that's a big thing. If I'm interacting with an individual, you feel what I'm saying? We're going back and forth, and then another person chimes in and tries to call me out, or vice versa. That person, in my opinion, needs to be told on that public platform, not behind closed doors, but on that public platform, yo, you're bugging right now. You're taking what I or this other person is saying out of context, and you may just be jumping on board because of experiences that you went through.
I don't think we should ever argue publicly, especially in the state that we're in. Us arguing publicly is probably one of the worst things that we do now, because that's all we do is argue publicly.
Right.
If I'm wrong, unless I disrespected you, then I publicly disrespected you, then you deserve a public apology. But if I'm wrong and we just disagree, I prefer you to pull me to the side and we have a conversation and try to build and get better understanding of one another. We have to stop showing our weaknesses. We argue. We argue and we disagree every other day. But they would never know that.
Right. And
but that
and us as a people,
we can't keep being publicized.
You don't see other cultures and their disagreements.
Right, that's right.
Us,
we'll do it. We'll go
and they make money off of us.
Yep.
In those ways.
Yeah.
It's entertaining. Let's watch the fools. You understand what I'm saying?
That's the point I'm saying though.
I think. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Well, real quick, I'm saying if a person is coming at you, I'm not saying argue with them. I'm saying handle it the right way.
Yeah, but I see what you're saying. I see
what you're saying. Don't do it privately, because then the world doesn't see how you addressed it correctly.
Because you're saying you're trying to show the accountability piece.
Right.
Like, you trying to make it seem. I'm like old school, like Corey. I won't go back and forth with you on like a social. I wouldn't do that, because I feel like even if your intentions aren't argument, it can be perceived as argument, or it can be perceived as going back and forth. But I do get your point. You're basically saying, if I'm holding you accountable, people kind of need to know that I'm holding you accountable. You know what I mean? I totally get that. But like, I feel like if it can get lost.
Oh, it's definitely going to get lost.
Translation, the best thing for us as a people is to pull the other person to the side and hold them accountable that way. And then maybe, like you say, if it's apology that needs to be made on that public platform, you say, hey, I'm like, Corey, I really felt like what you said on there was, inappropriate, and it didn't make the black man look good. I think you should go on there and apologize. You know what I mean? And then, an apology is accountability online, but just the back and forth can get misconstrued as back and forth or argument.
Two people arguing in the distance, they both look like fools. Regardless of in that conversation or in that exchange who is right or wrong within them two, they both look like fools from a distance. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And so we consistently look like fools because we argue over everything in front of everybody.
No question.
Now, you and I got into something a couple of weeks ago, and she made a point. The age difference affects perception and what is right and wrong. So I didn't grow up with social media. So the rules to engagement, the rules that I go by, the way that I live my life has nothing to do with social media. Your generation kind of grew up with social media, and your rules of engagement are different than mine. Me, man to man, you and I, let's bust it up. Your generation It's more of a send a text, an apology. If you send me a text apologizing about something,
Okay, so that's
I'm
what
not
you
gonna
mean
feel
by
sincere.
Because I was like, we didn't grow up with social media.
But
I
you
get it now.
you utilize
You're talking about how
social
we
media
express.
and
Yeah, it
technology.
Yeah, I got you now.
So
yeah, it's the time that it came about though, like for you all.
Yeah, I mean, we was when Facebook hit, I was a freshman in college. That's why I said I didn't grow up with it.
but all
what I'm
right, so
saying?
maybe not just, but just even with texting.
Yeah,
and
no,
things
that
like
when
that.
you said that,
Yeah.
I
Yeah,
got
like
it.
all
I
of
made
it is
perfect
like,
sense.
and what's so ironic about it is like even our age differences aren't that huge, but they are when it comes to things of that nature. That's why I was able to point out to Corey, because I was like, I kind of see it. I always was saying, I see it how Corey sees it. I see it how Corey. But I'm like, why do I always see it how Corey sees it and versus how my husband sees it? And I had to think about it. I'm like, well, me and Corey, we kind of from an old school, from a different lane. So, certain things are acceptable, I think, for certain age brackets versus our age bracket.
Yeah, no,
But I think accountability is universal.
Yeah,
All
it should
ages,
be.
and we have to figure out the appropriate way.
It should be.
No, it should be.
It should be.
It should be. We have to figure out a way to translate that in all age groups, because people can't just keep
doing what they're
doing what they're doing.